Claire Thompson sat at her kitchen table late one evening, staring blankly at the stack of bills that seemed to grow taller with each passing week. The soft glow of the overhead light illuminated the crumpled hospital receipts scattered across the surface, their numbers taunting her like an impossible puzzle she couldn't solve. Her son, Ethan, lay asleep in his room just down the hall, oblivious to the weight pressing down on his mother's shoulders. At 9 years old, he had already endured more than most adults ever would rounds of chemotherapy, endless doctor visits, and too many nights spent in sterile hospital rooms. Ethan's leukemia diagnosis had come out of nowhere 2 years ago, turning Claire's world upside down. As a single mom working part-time jobs to make ends meet, she had always managed to scrape by. But medical bills were a different beast altogether. Insurance covered some costs, but not nearly enough. The remaining balance loomed over her head like a dark cloud, threatening to swallow her whole if she didn't find a way to fight back. She sighed deeply, rubbing her temples as exhaustion crept into every fiber of her being. How could she possibly keep going? Where would she find the strength and the money to give Ethan the care he needed while still providing for them both? Her gaze drifted to the small notebook beside her, its pages filled with scribbled ideas and half-formed plans. One idea stood out among the rest. Open a bakery. It wasn't exactly conventional, but baking had always been her passion. Growing up, she'd spent countless hours helping her grandmother in the kitchen, learning how to craft perfect pastries and cakes. Even now, when stress threatened to overwhelm her, mixing flour and sugar brought her a sense of calm she couldn't explain. But starting a bakery, that was ridiculous, or so everyone else told her. You don't have the capital, her best friend Sarah had said gently during one of their coffee dates. And even if you did, who has time to run a business when you're barely keeping your head above water? Claire knew Sarah meant well, but something inside her refused to let go of the idea. Maybe it was desperation talking, or maybe it was hope clawing back to the surface. Either way, she couldn't shake the feeling that this might be her only shot at making things work. The next morning, after dropping Ethan off at school, Claire dove headfirst into research mode. She spent hours online reading about micro-businesses, watching tutorials on marketing strategies, and studying recipes until her eyes blurred. By lunchtime, she had a rough plan sketched out: convert her garage into a tiny bakery space where she could bake goods to sell locally. It wouldn't be glamorous, but it could be enough to start generating income. Of course, there were obstacles galore. For starters, she didn't own any professional-grade equipment. All she had was a beat-up oven, a couple of mixing bowls, and her trusty rolling pin. Then there was the issue of permits and licenses. Running a food business required compliance with health regulations, which meant additional expenses she hadn't accounted for. And let's not forget the competition. There were plenty of established bakeries in town, all vying for customers' attention. Despite these challenges, Claire pressed forward. She borrowed money from her sister to purchase basic supplies and applied for a small grant aimed at supporting entrepreneurs in need. When the funds came through, she used them to buy ingredients and upgrade her tools. Slowly but surely, her dream began taking shape. Transforming the garage into a functional bakery proved harder than expected. Dust clung to everything, forcing her to clean constantly. Shelves wobbled under the weight of bags of flour and sugar, and the old fridge struggled to maintain a consistent temperature. Still, Claire persevered, determined to create a space worthy of her vision. Her first batch of cupcakes emerged from the oven one chilly Friday afternoon. They weren't perfect. The frosting was slightly lopsided, and the tops browned a little too much, but they smelled divine. With trembling hands, Claire arranged them neatly on a tray and carried them to the nearby farmer's market, hoping someone would take a chance on her fledgling venture. To her surprise, several people stopped to sample her creations. A young couple praised her chocolate fudge brownie bites, while an elderly woman raved about the lemon poppy seed muffins. Encouraged by their enthusiasm, Claire handed out business cards printed with her contact information and promised to deliver orders directly to customers' homes. Word spread slowly within the community. Neighbors started placing regular orders, and local cafes agreed to carry her baked goods alongside their own offerings. While the income wasn't substantial yet, it gave Claire a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this crazy idea could actually work. Still, doubts lingered in the back of her mind. What if demand dried up? What if she couldn't keep up with production? Most importantly, what if all her efforts amounted to nothing in the face of Ethan's mounting medical bills? One evening, as she worked late into the night preparing orders for the following day, Claire allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she leaned against the counter, overwhelmed by the enormity of her task. Just then, Ethan wandered into the garage, yawning sleepily. "Mom?" he asked softly, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart," she lied, forcing a smile. "Just tired." Ethan tilted his head, studying her face intently. "You're doing this for me, aren't you?" His question caught her off guard. Swallowing hard, she knelt down to meet his gaze. "Yes, I am. But it's also for us, for our future." He hugged her tightly, and for the first time in weeks, Claire felt a flicker of peace. Whatever happened next, she knew one thing for sure. She wouldn't stop fighting until Ethan got the care he deserved. As the days turned into weeks, Claire poured her heart and soul into her little bakery. Each cupcake, cookie, and cake represented not just a product, but a piece of her dreams, her fears, and her love for her son. Though the road ahead remained uncertain, she faced it with renewed determination, ready to take whatever challenges came her way. Little did she know, however, that fate had other plans in store for her Rand. Those plans involved none other than Tom Hanks. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind for Claire. Orders poured in faster than she could prepare them, forcing her to adapt quickly. Her garage bakery, which had once seemed like a modest experiment, was now operating at full capacity. She spent her days juggling dough, frosting, and deliveries while squeezing in moments to care for Ethan between shifts. Despite the chaos, there was a sense of purpose in everything she did. Every order completed meant another step toward covering Ethan's medical bills. Every smile from a satisfied customer reminded her why she'd taken this leap of faith. Yet, as demand grew, so did the pressure. The small space designed for personal use wasn't built to handle commercial production, and Claire found herself constantly running out of ingredients or struggling to keep up with deadlines. One Saturday morning, as she prepared a batch of custom birthday cakes for a local family, disaster struck. The ancient fridge in the corner of the garage gave out completely, leaving her with no way to store perishable items. Panic set in as she surveyed the ruined cream cheese frosting and spoiled milk sitting inside. Without refrigeration, her entire operation would grind to a halt. Desperate, Claire turned to Sarah, who happened to be visiting that day. Together they brainstormed solutions. Sarah suggested reaching out to a nearby convenience store owner named Mr. Patel, known for his generosity and connections in the community. Reluctantly, Claire approached him, explaining her predicament and asking if he could spare some freezer space temporarily. To her relief, Mr. Patel not only agreed, but also offered to loan her a used commercial fridge he'd been planning to replace. "You're doing good work," he said with a warm smile. "This town needs more people like you." His kindness rekindled Claire's spirits, reminding her that she wasn't alone in this fight. Encouraged by the support, she began exploring ways to expand her operations further. She reached out to other local businesses, proposing partnerships where they could sell her baked goods alongside their products. Most agreed enthusiastically, drawn to her story and dedication. Word continued to spread about Claire's bakery, largely thanks to word-of-mouth praise from happy customers. A few even took to social media, posting pictures of her creations and sharing her backstory. These posts attracted attention from neighbors and strangers alike, leading to an influx of new orders. Though still far from viral fame, the buzz around her little bakery began to grow steadily. Then came the unexpected twist. A journalist from the local newspaper caught wind of her story. Intrigued by the combination of entrepreneurship and personal struggle, she reached out to interview Claire. Initially hesitant, Claire eventually agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to raise awareness about Ethan's condition and the importance of accessible healthcare. The article ran the following week, complete with photos of Claire working in her makeshift bakery and Ethan smiling beside her. The response was overwhelming. Strangers stopped by the garage, eager to try her treats and offer words of encouragement. Donations trickled in through a GoFundMe page someone had created without her knowledge. While grateful, Claire felt conflicted about accepting help. This was supposed to be her battle to fight, after all. As the days passed, Claire noticed subtle changes in her routine. More customers requested customized orders, challenging her creativity and pushing her skills to new heights. She experimented with flavors and designs, turning each cake into a canvas for her artistry. Word traveled beyond the immediate community, drawing visitors from neighboring towns. Some even drove hours just to taste her famous chocolate fudge brownies or see the woman behind the inspiring story. But success brought its own set of complications. Balancing her expanded workload with Ethan's care became increasingly difficult. There were nights when she barely slept, sacrificing rest to meet deadlines. Friends urged her to hire help, but the thought of trusting someone else with her creations made her anxious. What if they didn't share her standards? What if they let her down? Still, the reality of her situation forced her hand. After several sleepless nights debating the decision, Claire placed an ad for part-time help. To her surprise, dozens of applicants responded, many offering their services pro bono simply because they admired her story. From retired bakers willing to mentor her to college students looking for experience, the pool of candidates was overwhelming. In the end, she chose two individuelsa former pastry chef named Maria and a high school senior named Lily, both passionate about baking and committed to helping Claire succeed. With additional hands on deck, Claire finally felt capable of tackling the demands placed on her bakery. Production increased, allowing her to take on larger orders and explore new markets. She began attending craft fairs and farmers markets farther afield, expanding her reach and connecting with a broader audience. Each event brought fresh opportunities and fresh challenges. During one such market, Claire encountered a man whose presence seemed oddly familiar. Tall, lean, with a friendly demeanor, he introduced himself as Jack, a food critic for a regional magazine. He sampled her lemon poppy seed muffins and declared them the best he'd ever tasted. Before she knew it, he was peppering her with questions about her background, her inspiration, and her goals. Claire answered honestly, sharing snippets of her journey and the motivations driving her forward. Jack listened intently, nodding occasionally before pulling out his notebook to jot down notes. When he left, he promised to write a feature on her bakery, though Claire didn't think much of it at the time. What she didn't realize was that Jack's article would soon land on the desk of none other than Tom Hanks. The actor, known for his love of all things homegrown and heartfelt, happened to be flipping through the magazine during a quiet moment on set. Something about Claire's story resonated with him deeply. Single mother fighting against insurmountable odds, using her passion to create something meaningful. Curious, Tom decided to reach out directly. Through his assistant, he placed an order for a selection of Claire's most popular items, specifying that he'd pick them up in person. At first, Claire assumed it was another local customer placing a large order. It wasn't until the delivery address came through a luxury hotel downtown that she realized something unusual was happening. Unaware of the celebrity connection, Claire prepared the order with extra care, ensuring every detail was perfect. As she packed the final box, she couldn't shake the feeling that this might be the break she needed. The day arrived, and Claire was busier than ever. Orders had piled up over the past few days, and she worked tirelessly alongside Maria and Lily to ensure everything was ready for delivery. Her garage bakery buzzed with activity. The hum of the mixer blending batter, the rhythmic thud of rolling pins flattening dough, and the occasional burst of laughter as the team shared stories to lighten the mood. Despite the exhaustion etched into her face, Claire felt a quiet satisfaction knowing that every effort brought her closer to Ethan's recovery. As the clock ticked toward noon, Claire prepared the order destined for the downtown hotel. She triple-checked each item, ensuring the chocolate croissants were golden brown, the lemon tarts gleamed with a glossy glaze, and the red velvet cupcakes stood proudly on their tray. Every detail mattered. This was her chance to impress someone important, though she still didn't know exactly who. When the final box was sealed, Claire loaded it into her beat-up hatchback and headed out. The drive downtown took longer than usual due to traffic, giving her ample time to think. Who could this mystery customer be? Someone wealthy enough to stay at such an exclusive hotel, yet curious enough about her little bakery to place an order. She dismissed thoughts of celebrities or influencers. It seemed too far-fetched, but the anticipation gnawed at her nonetheless. Arriving at the hotel, Claire parked in the designated lot and carried the heavy box inside. The lobby exuded luxury, with marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and uniformed staff bustling about. Feeling slightly out of place in her apron-streaked shirt and sneakers, she approached the concierge desk. "Excuse me," she said hesitantly. "I have a delivery for Mr. Hanks." The concierge looked up, his expression shifting from polite indifference to genuine surprise. "Mr. Hanks?" he repeated. "Are you sure?" "Yes," Claire replied, though doubt crept into her voice. "His assistant placed the order earlier this week." The man nodded and disappeared briefly before returning with instructions to take the elevator to the penthouse suite. Nervously, Claire followed the directions, clutching the box tightly as the elevator ascended. Her heart raced with every floor, imagining all sorts of scenarios. What if she made a fool of herself? What if this was some elaborate prank? When the doors opened, she stepped into a spacious hallway leading to the penthouse door. Taking a deep breath, she knocked softly. A moment later, the door swung open, revealing a tall man with kind eyes and a warm smile. For a second, Claire froze, unsure if she was seeing correctly. It was Tom Hanks, standing there in casual jeans and a plaid shirt, looking just as approachable as he did on screen. "Claire Thompson?" he asked, extending a hand. His voice carried the same comforting tone fans knew so well. "Yes," she stammered, shaking his hand awkwardly. "That's me. I brought your order." Tom chuckled, gesturing for her to come in. "Please, don't be nervous. I'm just a guy who loves good food and inspiring stories." She stepped inside, taking in the opulent surroundings. The penthouse was decorated with modern art and floor-to-ceiling windows, offering breathtaking views of the city skyline. But none of that mattered compared to the sincerity in Tom's demeanor. "I've read about what you're doing," he continued, motioning toward the table where she placed the box. "Your bakery isn't just about selling treats, it's about hope. That's something we can all relate to." Claire blushed, unaccustomed to such praise. "Thank you," she murmured, feeling both flattered and humbled. Tom opened the box and examined its contents with obvious delight. "These look amazing," he said, selecting a mini chocolate cake and cutting himself a slice. After tasting it, he closed his eyes briefly, savoring the flavor. "Perfect," he declared. "Absolutely perfect." Encouraged by his enthusiasm, Claire relaxed slightly. They spent the next hour chatting about everything from baking techniques to family life. Tom listened intently as she spoke about Ethan, her struggles, and her dreams for the future. In return, he shared anecdotes from his own career, emphasizing the importance of staying true to oneself no matter how daunting the challenges. Before leaving, Tom handed her a business card. "If you ever need anything, if you want to share more of your story, I'd love to help however I can," he said sincerely. "And keep doing what you're doing. People like you remind us why we should never give up." Touched by his generosity, Claire thanked him profusely before heading back to her car. As she drove home, replaying the encounter in her mind, she couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting might change everything. Back at the bakery, news of her visit to the hotel spread quickly among her helpers. Maria teased her relentlessly, while Lily insisted they needed to start preparing for fame. "You're going viral now," she exclaimed excitedly. Claire laughed but remained skeptical. Sure, meeting Tom Hanks was incredible, but she wasn't convinced it would lead to anything substantial. Still, she decided to post a brief update on social media, thanking him for his support and sharing a photo of the two of them together. Within minutes, likes and comments flooded in, many expressing admiration for her courage and talent. But the real explosion happened hours later when Tom himself reposted her picture on his Instagram account, captioned with heartfelt words about her determination and creativity. Almost instantly, her phone pinged non-stop with notifications. Strangers from across the country messaged her, placing orders, offering congratulations, and even requesting collaborations. Overwhelmed, Claire turned to Maria and Lily for help managing the influx. Orders poured in faster than they could process, forcing them to extend hours and recruit additional volunteers. Local media outlets caught wind of the story, scheduling interviews and filming segments at the bakery. Reporters camped outside her house, eager to capture her reaction to the sudden surge in popularity. Amidst the chaos, Claire struggled to maintain perspective. On one hand, the attention meant financial stability for her and Ethan. On the other, she worried about losing the intimacy and authenticity that defined her business. How could she scale up without compromising quality? And how would she handle the pressure of being thrust into the public eye? One evening, after closing the bakery late, Claire sat alone in her kitchen, scrolling through the endless stream of messages. A particular comment stood out. "Don't let this success change who you are. Your heart is what makes your bakery special." It struck a chord within her. Yes, the world had discovered her tiny operation, but at its core, it was still a labor of love, a testament to her resilience and passion. Whatever came next, she vowed to stay grounded, remembering the reason she started this journey in the first place. The following morning, armed with renewed resolve, Claire gathered her team for a meeting. Together, they brainstormed ways to manage growth responsibly, prioritizing ethical practices and community involvement. They discussed expanding the menu, hiring permanent staff, and investing in better equipment, all while maintaining the personal touch that made her creations unique. As word of her plans spread, local suppliers reached out, eager to partner with her burgeoning enterprise. Suppliers offered discounts, artisans proposed collaborations, and fellow entrepreneurs shared advice based on their own experiences. Slowly but surely, Claire built a network of supporters who believed in her vision. Yet challenges persisted. Competitors began copying her recipes, flooding the market with knockoff versions of her signature items. Online trolls criticized her newfound fame, accusing her of exploiting her son's illness for profit. Even friends and family expressed concerns about whether she could handle the stress. Through it all, Claire leaned on those closest to her: Ethan, Sarah, Maria, and Lily to keep moving forward. Their unwavering belief in her abilities gave her strength during moments of doubt. And whenever the weight became too much, she returned to her original purpose, providing for her family and inspiring others to pursue their passions despite adversity. By the end of the month, Claire's bakery had transformed into a thriving hub of creativity and community spirit. Customers lined up daily to sample her latest creations, and her social media following skyrocketed into the millions. The days following Tom Hanks's endorsement felt like a whirlwind to Claire. Her once quiet garage bakery was now the center of national attention, with customers lining up around the block and media outlets clamoring for interviews. The sudden surge in demand was exhilarating, but overwhelming, forcing her to adapt quickly or risk losing everything she had worked so hard to build. At first, Claire tried to handle the influx herself, working longer hours and enlisting Maria and Lily's help as much as possible. But it soon became clear that their small team couldn't keep up. Orders poured in from across the country. Some people even requested custom cakes for weddings and birthdays they'd never attend in person. Claire found herself spending entire nights baking, only to wake up and repeat the cycle all over again. One morning, after delivering a batch of cupcakes to a nearby cafe, Claire collapsed onto a park bench outside, exhausted. She stared at her phone, which buzzed incessantly with notifications, messages from fans, emails from potential collaborators, and inquiries from businesses wanting to stock her products. For the first time since her journey began, doubt crept into her mind. Could she really sustain this level of success, or would the pressure eventually crush her? As she sat there, lost in thought, Ethan appeared beside her, holding a thermos of hot chocolate. "You look tired," he said softly, handing her the drink. "I am," she admitted, forcing a smile. "But I'll be okay." Ethan tilted his head, studying her face. "Do you want me to help?" Claire laughed, though it carried more sadness than humor. "Sweetheart, I don't think making frosting is your thing." He grinned mischievously. "Maybe not, but I can do something else. Like talk to people about what we're doing here. People seem to care about our story, right? Maybe I can tell them why it matters." His words struck a chord within her. In her rush to meet deadlines and satisfy demand, she had forgotten the heart of her mission, the reason she started this bakery in the first place. It wasn't just about selling goods. It was about sharing hope, resilience, and love with others. If Ethan could see that, maybe it was time for her to refocus her efforts. That evening, Claire gathered her team for an emergency meeting. Together, they discussed strategies for scaling the business responsibly. They decided to hire additional staff, including professional bakers and administrative assistants, to manage the growing workload. They also explored partnerships with local suppliers and distributors to streamline production and delivery processes. To address concerns about quality control, Claire implemented strict guidelines for every product leaving the bakery. Each employee underwent rigorous training to ensure consistency in taste and presentation. She insisted on personally tasting every new recipe before approval, maintaining the high standards that had made her famous. Despite these measures, challenges persisted. Competitors continued copying her ideas, flooding the market with cheaper imitations of her creations. Some even accused her of profiting off her son's illness, sparking heated debates online. While hurt by the criticism, Claire chose not to engage directly. Instead, she channeled her energy into giving back to the community. She launched a charity initiative called Ethan's Table, donating a portion of her profits to organizations supporting children with cancer and their families. The program quickly gained traction, inspiring other entrepreneurs to follow suit. Local schools invited Claire to speak at assemblies, where she shared her story and encouraged students to pursue their passions despite obstacles. One afternoon, while preparing for a speaking engagement, Claire received an unexpected email. A major grocery chain wanted to feature her baked goods in their stores nationwide. At first, she hesitated, fearing the loss of intimacy that came with mass production. But after consulting with her team, she agreed to a trial partnership, starting with a limited selection of items. The collaboration proved successful beyond expectations. Within weeks, her products flew off shelves, introducing her brand to millions of new customers. The exposure brought both opportunities and responsibilities. Retailers pressured her to expand her offerings rapidly, while critics questioned whether her bakery still embodied the same values it once did. Amidst the chaos, Claire turned to an unlikely source of guidance, Tom Hanks. After reaching out via email, he responded promptly, offering advice based on his own experiences navigating fame. "Stay true to who you are," he wrote. "Let your authenticity shine through, no matter how big you grow." Inspired by his wisdom, Claire doubled down on her commitment to quality and integrity. She invested in eco-friendly packaging, partnered with sustainable ingredient suppliers, and prioritized transparency in all her operations. These efforts resonated with consumers, further solidifying her reputation as a conscientious entrepreneur. Meanwhile, Ethan's health continued to improve under careful medical supervision. Though still undergoing regular checkups, he regained much of his strength and energy. Watching him play soccer in the backyard or laugh with friends reminded Claire of why she fought so hard to give him a future filled with possibilities. As autumn approached, Claire reflected on how far she had come. From a struggling single mom running a makeshift bakery in her garage to a nationally recognized entrepreneur with a thriving business, she had defied the odds. Yet, she knew the journey was far from over. New challenges awaited, requiring creativity, perseverance, and perhaps a little more faith. One day, while browsing social media, Claire stumbled upon a post from a mother in another state. Struggling financially after her child's diagnosis, she expressed admiration for Claire's story and wondered aloud if opening her own bakery might help her family too. Moved by the message, Claire reached out privately, offering encouragement and resources. Over the following weeks, she connected with dozens of similar individuals, forming a network of support for parents facing medical hardships. This connection sparked an idea. What if she could use her platform to empower others? Collaborating with local business incubators, Claire developed a mentorship program aimed at helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own ventures. Participants received hands-on training, access to funding opportunities, and personalized guidance from industry experts. The initiative launched during the holiday season, drawing widespread praise from communities nationwide. Through it all, Claire remained grounded, remembering the lessons she learned along the way. Success wasn't defined solely by numbers or recognition. It was about making a difference in people's lives. Whether through her baked goods, her charity work, or her mentorship programs, she strived to leave a lasting impact wherever she went. By winter, the bakery had expanded significantly, moving into a larger facility, equipped with state-of-the-art equipment and ample space for growth. Employees worked harmoniously, fueled by shared purpose and camaraderie. Customers praised not only the delicious treats, but also the warmth and inclusivity that permeated every aspect of the business. Yet Claire knew the real magic lay in the stories behind each order: the single moms juggling multiple jobs, the families battling illnesses, the dreamers chasing impossible goals. Her bakery had become more than a place to buy pastries. It had become a symbol of hope, resilience, and possibility. And somewhere amidst the hustle and bustle, Claire allowed herself a rare moment of peace. Standing in the bustling kitchen, surrounded by the aroma of fresh bread and the sound of laughter, she realized she had achieved something extraordinary, not just for herself, but for everyone who believed in the power of determination and love. By the time spring rolled around, Claire's bakery had become a cornerstone of the community. Orders continued to pour in from across the country, and her charity initiatives had expanded far beyond what she ever imagined possible. Yet despite her success, Claire often found herself reflecting on the pivotal moments that brought her here, especially the unexpected visit from Tom Hanks. It had been months since their initial meeting, but Tom remained a constant presence in her life, not as a celebrity or mentor, but as someone who genuinely cared about her journey. He occasionally checked in with emails or phone calls, offering advice when asked, and celebrating her milestones with heartfelt congratulations. One day, while reviewing plans for an upcoming expansion, Claire received an invitation from him, a private dinner at his home, where he wanted to discuss something important. Curious but cautious, Claire accepted the offer, bringing along Ethan, whose curiosity about the famous actor matched his mother's gratitude. When they arrived at Tom's sprawling estate, nestled among lush greenery and rolling hills, they were greeted warmly by the actor himself. "Welcome," he said, pulling them into a hug. "I'm so glad you could make it." The evening unfolded like a dream. Over a delicious meal prepared by Tom's chef, they shared stories, laughed, and bonded over their mutual love for storytelling. At one point, Ethan asked Tom how he managed to stay grounded despite his fame. The actor smiled thoughtfully before answering, "You surround yourself with people who remind you of where you came from and why you started this journey in the first place." After dessert, Tom turned to Claire with a serious expression. "There's something I've been thinking about for a while now," he began. "When I first heard your story, it struck me because it reminded me of my own beginnings. We all start small, chasing dreams that seem impossible, but sometimes those dreams can inspire others to do the same." He paused, glancing between Claire and Ethan. "What if we took your bakery to the next level, not just as a business, but as a movement? A platform to empower other single parents, entrepreneurs, and families facing challenges similar to yours. Together, we could create something truly remarkable." Claire blinked, processing his words. It was an ambitious proposal, one that required careful consideration. But as she looked at Ethan, grinning ear to ear beside her, she realized this was exactly what she wanted: to amplify her impact and give back even more. Over the following weeks, Claire worked closely with Tom and his team, to develop a comprehensive plan. They launched a nationwide initiative called Dream Bakers, designed to support aspiring entrepreneurs through grants, mentorship programs, and access to resources. Participants submitted proposals outlining their goals, and selected individuals received funding and guidance to bring their ideas to life. Tom used his influence to promote the program, appearing on talk shows and social media platforms to share Claire's story and encourage participation. His endorsement drew widespread attention, resulting in thousands of applications from hopeful candidates. Claire personally reviewed each submission, connecting deeply with the struggles and aspirations reflected in their letters. As the program gained momentum, Claire traveled the country, visiting participants and helping them establish their businesses. Alongside Tom, she spoke at conferences, wrote articles, and collaborated with organizations dedicated to empowering marginalized communities. Their partnership became a symbol of collaboration and compassion, inspiring countless others to join the cause. Back home, the bakery flourished under the leadership of Maria and Lily, who had grown into capable managers. Claire entrusted them with daily operations, allowing her to focus on expanding her reach. She introduced new product lines, experimented with innovative recipes, and explored opportunities to integrate technology into her business model. Every decision aligned with her core values: quality, sustainability, and community impact. Ethan, now healthier and thriving, played an active role in the family's endeavors. He helped design marketing materials, assisted with events, and even created content for the bakery's social media channels. Watching him embrace his creativity filled Claire with pride, reminding her of the reason she started this journey in the first place. One crisp autumn morning, as Claire stood outside her newly renovated bakery, she marveled at how far she'd come. The building, once a humble garage, now boasted modern amenities, expansive windows, and a welcoming atmosphere that invited customers to linger. Inside, employees bustled about, preparing orders and engaging with patrons. Laughter echoed through the space, blending seamlessly with the aroma of freshly baked goods. That afternoon, Tom surprised her with a visit, accompanied by several media outlets eager to document their ongoing partnership. Cameras flashed as he presented Claire with a plaque commemorating her contributions to the Dream Bakers initiative. "This isn't just a bakery," he declared. "It's a testament to what happens when passion meets perseverance and when people come together to lift each other up." Tears welled in Claire's eyes as she accepted the honor, overwhelmed by the outpouring of support. In that moment, she understood the true power of her journey, not just in achieving personal success, but in creating opportunities for others to achieve theirs. As the year drew to a close, Claire reflected on everything she had accomplished. From fighting against insurmountable odds to building a legacy that touched countless lives, she knew her work was far from finished. Yet she felt ready for whatever lay ahead, armed with resilience, determination, and the unwavering belief that dreams, no matter how small, could change the world. And so, with gratitude in her heart and hope in her soul, Claire stepped forward, ready to continue writing her story one chapter at a time.